and then price input, and then this dot price input equals price input. And then back to onSubmit, let's log out this dot name dot value and this dot price dot value just to make sure that we're getting these correctly. And let's type some things in our inputs, press enter, and we see that the name and the price are properly logged to the console. Now in onSubmit, let's call this dot props dot onSubmit with the name and the price. And then back in app.js, let's actually add the product to the state by first doing const products equals this dot get products, and then let's do products dot push, and then we'll add an object with the name and price of the product. And then we'll do this dot set state products. So now, if we enter stuff into the inputs like this, and then press enter, the product will be added to the list. And we can also add another product, and that works too. But notice that the name and price stay in the inputs after we add the product. Let's clear those out when we add the product. So let's go to the add product file, and right at the end of this method, this dot name input dot value equals empty string, and this dot price input dot value equals empty string. So now, when we save our product, the input fields will clear out properly. Now we want to be able to edit our products. Let's start by adding an edit button right before the delete button. So let's add the button, and then let's add a pipe between the buttons, and let's change the text to be edit, and the onClick handler to be this dot onEdit, and then let's bind this dot onEdit in the constructor. And now let's add an isEditState property to the product item component. This property will tell us whether we are in edit mode or normal view mode. And let's default isEdit to false. And now let's create the onEdit method. Here we'll set isEdit to true. Then in the render method, if this dot state dot isEdit is true, then we will render the edit version. If it's not true, we'll just render what we currently have. In the isEdit version, let's just put an empty div there for now to see if it works. And we need a tag that surrounds this code in the non-edit part. And now, when we click on the edit button, the product will become an empty div. So now let's write the code for the edit part of this ternary. To do this, let's copy over the inputs and the button that we have in our add product file. And let's change the button text to be save. So now, when we click the edit button, the inputs and save button will show up. And let's actually turn this into a form so we can submit it with enter. And then let's create an onSubmit event handler that calls this onEditSubmit. Then let's bind this dot onEditSubmit in the constructor. So this dot onEditSubmit equals this dot onEditSubmit dot bind this. And then let's create the onEditSubmit method. Let's copy the onEdit method. Then let's do event.preventDefault. Then let's go back to app.js, and then let's create an onEditSubmit method there that will take a name and a price. And let's also bind this method in the constructor. So this dot onEditSubmit equals this dot onEditSubmit dot bind this. And then let's pass this dot onEditSubmit into the product item component. And then back in productitem.js, in the onEditSubmit method, let's call this dot props dot onEditSubmit and pass in this dot name input dot value and this dot price input dot value. And then in app.js, let's console log the name and the value. And then let's click edit in the browser, enter things into the text boxes, press enter, and we see that the name and value are properly logged to the console. Next, let's set the default value of the text boxes by going back to productitem.js and adding value attributes to the text boxes. So we'll have value equals name and value equals price. And now when we click edit, the name and price inputs will be defaulted to the product's name and price. But remember, if we use value, we also need to include an onChange event handler to make it a controlled input. So let's just keep our inputs uncontrolled. Let's change the value attributes to be default value. And now when we click edit, the warning in the console won't appear. Now let's write code to actually edit the product. Back in app.js, let's write const products equals this.getProducts, and then we'll do products equals products.map. And then for each product, we'll say that if the product name equals the name we pass in, then we'll set the product name and price to the new values in the inputs. So product.name equals name and product.price equals price. And then we'll save it with this.setState products. And since we're actually mutating the products variable, we need to change the const to a let. And since we're using map, we need to return the product at the end of the function. And then after we submit, we need to change back isEdit in product item to false. So let's write down here this.setState isEdit false. And we need to do something else too. In productitem.js, we also need to pass in the original product name, since we're going to be using that to find the product in the full list that we need to edit. Normally, we would use a unique ID for something like this, but we're just trying to keep things simple in this tutorial. So let's pass in this.props.name for our third argument. And back in app.js, let's add original name as a third parameter. And we'll say that if product.name equals the original name, then we'll update the product to the new name and price. And now, if we click edit and then change our inputs to new values, and then press enter, you'll see that the product in the list updates correctly. And let's just edit the other product too, just to make sure, and we see that that one updates correctly too. And that's all for this video. We hope you found it useful. If you liked this video, you can support us by subscribing, by liking the video, and by leaving some comments, and we'll see you next time.